If you think you know air travel and border crossing as it has been for the past decade, it is time to pause and reconsider everything. The rules are changing in ways that will affect how you plan trips, how you prepare documents, how you navigate airports, and even how you select seats and manage baggage. By February 2026, the landscape of travel will be more rigid, more digital, and more exacting, and those who are unprepared could find themselves paying unnecessary fees or being denied boarding. This is not about packing more efficiently or choosing carry-on luggage wisely. This is about understanding the systems that determine whether your journey proceeds smoothly or becomes a series of obstacles that waste time, money, and energy. If you want to travel with confidence in the next year, you need to internalize a new set of rules that will govern domestic and international travel alike. In the United States, the most immediate change affects anyone who has not upgraded their identification to a Real ID-compliant license or does not carry a passport. The Real ID Act has been around for years, and the deadline to be fully compliant was initially set for May 2025. Many travelers assumed that the process would continue to be lenient and that the Transportation Security Administration would continue issuing warnings or manually verifying identity without cost. That period of leniency is over. Beginning on February 1, 2026, any traveler arriving at a TSA checkpoint without a Real ID or a valid passport will be subject to a $45 Confirm ID fee. This fee is non-refundable and is required for manual verification. It is not optional if you want to fly, and it will only cover a 10-day window. For example, if you fly from New York to Florida on February 1st and pay the fee, you are covered for that trip. However, if you remain in Florida for 2 weeks and return on February 15th, you will be outside the 10-day window and will have to pay again. This is especially important for snowbirds and other travelers who spend extended periods away from home. The most straightforward way to avoid the fee and any delay is to carry a U.S. passport or passport card. These are fully acceptable forms of identification for domestic travel and will prevent you from having to navigate additional lines or pay fees unnecessarily. It is important to understand that the TSA will continue to perform identity verification, but manual checks cost time, and the Confirm ID fee reflects the actual administrative cost of processing passengers without proper documentation. Travelers who attempt to bypass this requirement or rely on outdated methods of identity verification are likely to experience delays that can range from 15 to 30 minutes at minimum, and possibly longer during peak travel periods. International travel is becoming increasingly complex as well. The United Kingdom is introducing strict enforcement of its Electronic Travel Authorization System, known as ETA, beginning on February 25, 2026. For U.S. citizens, this means that even if you do not require a visa to enter the country for short stays, you must apply for an ETA before boarding your flight. Airlines will check whether your passport is linked to an approved ETA, and if it is not, they are required to deny you a boarding pass. This is not a suggestion, and it is not a system that allows for processing at the airport. Approval must be obtained in advance through the UK ETA app or official website, and the cost of the application is £16, which is roughly $21. This rule applies even to travelers who are transiting through the UK to reach another destination. A layover in London or another UK airport will not exempt you from the requirement. It is critical that travelers plan ahead, apply early, and ensure that the ETA is correctly linked to the passport that will be used for travel. Any mistakes, delays in approval, or using the wrong passport could result in being denied boarding at the departure airport, which could cause major disruption to travel plans and result in lost money for tickets and accommodations. Travelers to Europe are facing additional changes with the rollout of the European Union Entry-Exit System, or ES. This system is designed to replace traditional passport stamps with biometric verification at border control. By April 2026, the rollout is expected to be complete, and travelers will be required to scan their faces and provide fingerprints of all 4 fingers when entering or exiting Schengen area countries. The system automatically calculates the length of stay and flags overstays instantly. There is no longer discretion on the part of border control officers. The system is digital and automated. Seniors and travelers with limited mobility should be prepared for the physical aspects of these kiosks. The screens may be high, and the fingerprint scanners require firm pressure. It is important not to rush, even if others are waiting behind you, because the automated system cannot correct errors easily once entered. If you overstay by even 1 day, the system will record it, and you could be subject to fines or a temporary ban from entering Schengen countries in the future. The age of passport stamps and human discretion is effectively over, and travelers must understand that digital systems now govern entry and exit. Another layer of confusion for travelers is the European Travel Information and Authorization System, or ETIS. While there has been a great deal of misinformation suggesting that ETAs is required immediately, travelers in early 2026 are not yet required to obtain ETAs. The system is expected to launch later in 2026, likely in the third or fourth quarter. When it does become mandatory, travelers over 70 will be exempt from the €7 application fee, although they will still be required to submit the application. Anyone attempting to charge a senior traveler the fee during early 2026 is likely a scam. Awareness of timing and official requirements is critical to avoid unnecessary charges and confusion at borders. Airline policies are also undergoing significant change. Southwest Airlines, long known for its open seating policy, will implement assigned seating starting January 27, 2026. This is a major shift from the system where travelers checked in, received a number, and could select any seat on a first-come, first-served basis. With the new policy, travelers must select their seats when booking tickets, similar to other major carriers. Front row seats and exit row seats with additional legroom will incur extra fees. Additionally, travelers who require 2 seats for comfort, known as customers of size, will no longer be guaranteed a refund for the second seat. Under the new system, a refund for the extra seat is only available if the flight is not sold out. If the flight is fully booked, travelers must pay for both seats. This represents a significant financial change and requires advanced planning, particularly for those who have relied on the old system for decades. Early booking and understanding the seating assignment options are now critical to avoid extra costs. Southwest is also enforcing strict regulations on lithium-ion batteries for mobility devices starting January 11, 2026. Batteries exceeding 300 watt-hours will no longer be accepted on flights. Many heavy-duty or long-range mobility scooters exceed this limit. Travelers must check battery specifications in advance, usually indicated on the device itself, and contact manufacturers for travel-compliant alternatives. Attempting to address battery issues at the airport will likely result in denied boarding. This change aligns with federal fire safety regulations and represents an operational reality that travelers must accommodate in advance. Despite these restrictions, 2026 also brings enhanced traveler rights. The Department of Transportation has strengthened refund rules. Travelers on domestic flights delayed by 3 hours or more, or international flights delayed by 6 hours or more, are entitled to a full cash refund if they choose not to travel. Airlines are required to return the money to the original method of payment within 7 days. Vouchers are no longer mandatory, and this policy also applies to travelers with disabilities. If an airline substitutes an aircraft that no longer meets accessibility requirements, such as a plane lacking a wheelchair-accessible lavatory, this counts as a significant change. Travelers may refuse to fly under these conditions and receive a full refund. This rule represents a significant improvement in ensuring dignity and fairness for travelers with mobility needs. Passport renewal procedures are also becoming more convenient. The State Department is expanding online renewal options for eligible travelers. The system allows applicants to take photos using a smartphone, upload documentation, make payments, and complete the process digitally without mailing physical documents. This online system is limited to renewals, and first-time applicants or passports expired for more than 5 years still require traditional processing. Travelers must also adhere to the 6-month validity rule for international travel. Many countries will deny entry if a passport is set to expire within 6 months of arrival, so it is critical to confirm passport validity before booking international flights. Operational and procedural traps are increasingly common in airports. TSA has enhanced its scanning capabilities with 3-dimensional computed tomography scanners, which can detect overstuffed neck pillows and other items that previously might have been overlooked. Travelers attempting to conceal clothing or other personal items inside hollow pillows should expect to have them removed and inspected. Medical exemptions exist for ice packs used to cool medications such as insulin or breast milk, but these must be declared immediately. Melted or slushy ice packs may be accepted for medical necessity if properly presented, but travelers must advocate for themselves and alert TSA officers at the start of the screening process. Airport layouts are also evolving in ways that encourage consumer spending. The so-called Golden Walk is a routing that leads travelers through duty-free shops and retail zones after clearing security. This can add significant walking distance and confusion, particularly for seniors or those with mobility limitations. Travelers can save energy and avoid unnecessary purchases by observing floor markings, using elevators, and identifying concourse bypass options to reach gates more directly. Planning for the physical demands of airport layouts is now an important part of trip preparation. Cabin environments on flights introduce additional considerations. Air pressure and low humidity at cruising altitudes reduce taste perception for salt and sugar by approximately 30%. Airlines often compensate by adding extra sodium to meals, which can pose health risks for travelers with hypertension or dietary restrictions. Bringing your own food is one option. Another is using noise-canceling headphones, which research suggests may help restore some sensitivity to flavors and reduce the perceived need for extra seasoning. In-flight health management, including hydration, movement, and dietary awareness, is increasingly important as operational and environmental conditions on aircraft change. Travel planning in 2026 requires foresight, attention to detail, and familiarity with digital systems. Applications for ETAs, entry procedures, assigned seating, battery compliance, and identification verification are all mandatory in various contexts, and failure to comply results in fees, delays, or denial of boarding. Travelers must also remain aware of refund rights, medical accommodations, and operational realities at airports. Preparation is no longer optional and can make the difference between a smooth journey and a disrupted one. Understanding timing is critical. Real ID compliance is required starting February 1st. UK ETA enforcement begins February 25th. Southwest assigned seating begins January 27th, with battery regulations effective January 11th. EU biometric systems will be fully operational by April, while ETAs is expected later in the year. Aligning travel schedules, documentation, and application deadlines with these changes ensures that travelers are not caught off guard. Each of these dates represents a hard line, and assumptions based on previous leniency will no longer suffice. Airlines, border authorities, and regulatory agencies are increasingly automated and less able to accommodate exceptions. Travelers with special needs, seniors, and those requiring mobility devices must pay particular attention to battery limits, seating policies, and accessibility requirements. Families must consider digital travel authorizations for multiple passports and ensure that all members comply. Business travelers need to account for time-sensitive applications to avoid missing flights due to administrative delays. Recreational travelers and tourists must recognize that even minor oversights, such as incorrect passports or failure to secure a UK ETA, can result in denial of boarding. Awareness, planning, and proactive action are essential for all traveler categories. International flights introduce additional considerations. Taxes and fees are subject to change, including the UK air passenger duty, which applies to premium cabins. Travelers may find that choosing alternative departure points within Europe can reduce tax liability and overall costs. Visa requirements for Brazil and other destinations must be verified for early 2026 travel. Electronic visas may require uploading bank statements, itineraries, and other documentation. Cruise travelers must also comply with visa requirements for port calls. International regulations are active and enforced, and failure to comply may prevent boarding of ships or aircraft. Travelers should also consider digital applications for airlines and border systems. Airlines now require apps for seat selection, boarding passes, and notifications. Mobile devices should be kept updated, fully charged, and linked to the correct accounts. Failure to present the correct digital information may prevent boarding or cause delays. Understanding how airline and government systems interact is key. For example, the UK ETA must be linked to the passport used for airline check-in. Mismatched information is not tolerated. Automation in both security and airline systems leaves little room for error, and travelers must approach planning with precision. In addition to documentation and technology, travelers should consider physical readiness. Airports are larger, security lines are longer, and walking distances may increase due to rerouted paths through retail areas. Seniors, those with mobility challenges, and families with children must plan for the physical strain of navigating large airport terminals. Elevators, moving walkways, and clear routes to gates are critical for efficiency. Knowledge of airport layouts, including bypass lanes and direct concourse access, can save time, reduce stress, and prevent missed flights. Strategic planning of arrival times, airport navigation, and pre-check-in procedures has become an integral part of successful travel. Finally, health considerations are increasingly important during travel. Cabin air pressure and dry conditions affect hydration, taste perception, and general comfort. Travelers should plan for sufficient fluids, personal hygiene, and dietary management. Noise-canceling headphones can improve in-flight taste perception and reduce stress. Medical supplies, medications, and mobility aids should be carefully documented and declared as required. Awareness of airline policies regarding medical equipment, batteries, and accessibility ensures that travelers maintain comfort, safety, and compliance.